In order to guide our conversation, I decided to put something small together. I don't know how many hours we have, but from the brief that DJ has given to me, it's so obvious that we want to have more time to talk. So I'll try to just to guide my conversation because I could actually do this into a question and answer session, just go through everything. I will go that way. But just to be able to guide the conversation so that when you are asked, what did you gain from today's evening? You would have something to share. And I can always share the slide to us after now, basically. So, what I'm going to be doing is that we're looking at making big career decisions. Now, I know that there are a lot of things that are there, but we'll try to break them down. Just as a caption, we want to look at factors to consider in making career choices and motivate you to taking the necessary steps. Time may not permit me to start to look at the category of people in the room because I've been told they're young men. So young men, I would assume. I don't want to. They said age is a function of the mind, actually. So don't mind all these things you're saying. Don't mind me. I'm a young boy. So I usually like to start a session like this to take you through a little bit of introduction. Yes, my profile might have been shared, but there are so many salient points in that profile that I usually start to share and give you an understanding. Yes, I like to describe myself as a born teacher. Now, one thing you don't understand is that it took me a lot to come to terms with calling myself a born teacher, knowing fully well that people say that teachers' reward are not here, as everybody say. But I needed to come to a realization somewhere in life that I like teaching. I like making complex things very simple. So apologies ahead if I simplify some of the things I'm going to be sharing today. If I make them look too simple and more like second skin, that's just me. They may be very complex. They may look complex, but when I touch them, I make them look like it's nothing. Just so apologies ahead. Interestingly, I read chemical engineering. Deji and myself were in the same alma mater, Great Ife. Apologies for those that are not in Ife. Yeah, I hope they will forgive us for the sake of that parapor conversation. But interestingly, I never practiced chemical engineering. I never practiced as a chemical engineer for one day. You all know that Deji did not practice as a chemical engineer, or he does not practice as one now. Interestingly, I've come to understand that whatever you do in the university is just a stepping stone. It doesn't determine, it doesn't go far. And yes, I read chemical engineering. I'm currently doing HR, and I'm in the middle of transiting. I've left HR, but most people don't know I've left HR. So don't worry. As it starts to unfold in this conversation, you start to understand at what point did I make some of those decisions that I made. I'll try to share some of those personal stories with us. Interestingly, this is a part of me most people don't know. I have lost my job 3 times in my very short career. Uh, the very first time I lost my job was 3 months to my wedding. That was about, let's say, about 11 years ago. And after then, I've had 2 other job losses. And for each of those times, I needed to take decisions that would determine whether I will still go back to paid employment or I would not. Decisions that means that I must come to a point at which I would decide what I want to do. So I think to a very large extent, I may have some nuggets to help in the course of this conversation. And interestingly, I said earlier on that, yes, I read chemical engineering. I currently do HR now as my day job. But behind the scene, I'm a man of many parts. Number one, the third time I lost my job in 2014, I took a step back. I decided to, interestingly, I've had cause to take decisions in the course of my short career. I got my very first job in HR 8 weeks after NYSC, and that was a major decision that I had to take. And that major decision is this. Number one, I had an OND in chemical engineering. Deji would bear witness to that. I think we met even before IFE. So I've had 2 years doing OND in chemical engineering technology. Then I had time trying to do going back to read a BSc in chemical engineering, and I'd had a lot of falls. So that decision to even do chemical engineering was a decision milestone. Now, after spending minimum of 6 years plus X, the time in between when I did my OND and when I went to IFE, and in between all the various breaks of ASO and the rest, I now came back and say, this chemical engineering I'm not doing again. I look like somebody that was insane, actually. Many people would think that what's wrong with him after spending 6 years plus X. You now say that you're not doing that chemical engineering again. But interestingly, I needed to take that decision. Some of those reasons and some of the steps I took, I will share with us. Then somewhere along the line, I became an author. Currently, I would tell you for free. It's a secret. Hope you can keep a secret. They say you can only tell a secret if you can only keep a secret if you are telling yourself. Immediately you tell more than one person, it's no longer a secret. So we have more than 37 people in this room. So I hope you will keep my open secret, basically. Now, I currently wear many hats. One of such hats is that I'm an Udemy instructor. As a matter of fact, Udemy seems to be one of my. It started like a passive income for me, but today I think it's becoming an almost active income, simply because I am in transition, and I currently keep two bills, one in Nigeria and one outside of Nigeria. So my Udemy fund is becoming very tangible for me now because I have opportunity to earn in another currency. Interestingly, as well, I have a thriving YouTube channel that has had opportunity to give me various fund source of income. All of those things are decisions that I needed to take, and I'm going to be taking you through some of those steps. And interestingly, not that I am formed yet, I am still a work in progress. Interestingly, I'm at another phase of my life that I may be taking another transition change in a couple of months. Let's see, it's a decision. Now, why are we going through all of this? So let me try to take you through some little conversations to guide us. Let me start with this. Without good direction, people lose their way. The more wise counsel you follow, the better your chances. I like this passage of scriptures very much. Interestingly, I like the Message translation of Proverbs 11:14. Now, one of the reasons why I like that Message translation, I came across this quote, this particular application of the Message translation when I was writing my book, Corporate Misfit. This is a copy of my book. And as a matter of fact, Deji, I don't know. We could arrange that some copies could be shipped to a few people that may be interested. I'm sure we can discuss that after now. I have a lot of copies. I still have a few copies around of that book, and I think it will be useful. You're a fresh graduate, it will be useful. You're a young person, you can be useful. It's called Corporate Misfit. That's one of my major. You know, why will someone write a book and call it Corporate Misfit? Because I felt I was a misfit. I felt I was doing things that people felt I was abnormal at. I happen to be an individual that today I feel that I cannot stay in a full-time job for a long time until recently that I needed to do it because of a family decision that I needed to take. But the interesting thing about it is that this is where the conversation comes in. Wise counsel. The more wise counsel you follow, the better your chances. Because when you don't have good direction, the people will lose their way. Individuals lose their way. There is nothing as beneficial as somebody telling you that there is a tunnel somewhere. You know, when you're in Lagos Road, I think this is a very classic example. When you're driving on Lagos Road in the rain, in the rain, and you see one particular man is navigating through the waters and he's not getting into pothole. My brother, follow that man. He knows the way. Maybe in his head, he has mapped all the potholes all around. So he's just navigating. Maybe he's just around the corner. And that's exactly what happens. Majorly when you're driving in the dark on a Lagos road, and most people, and you have a very bad full light, what you would expect is to use someone else's light. So in Lagos road, where in the night you see people driving in flux if there are no traffic. Simply when they are navigating through the portal, that's the way it is. Now, what do we want to do today? Now, this is one thing I've discovered. This is my own discovery. People with extraordinary careers make decisions with long term in mind. You want to make a big decision, start from the end. Nobody that I've seen, there is even an interesting book that I came across many years ago, Patterns of Extraordinary Careers. Very beautiful book. I bought that book shortly before I lost my job the first time. And that book has been very, very instrumental to my life. Some of the things I learned in that book, I'm going to be sharing today. And I'm not even sure I can get another copy of the book, but it's a book I can recommend for anybody. And one thing I realized from that book is that individuals that with 10 extraordinary careers, they started with the end in mind. If I would tell you Elon Musk, what do you think his end goal is? Why do you think he seems to be so spectacular today? If you find out he wants to do something like others have not done before, because he has the end in mind. Forget the controversial side of him. Pick Bill Gates. In actual fact, everybody felt Bill Gates' end goal was Microsoft. Now we know his end goal was not Microsoft. His end goal is something bigger than Microsoft. He has went away from Microsoft and now he's doing something bigger. Now, when I decided to publish my book, Corporate Misfit, I knew that there would time will come in my life that I needed to give back. And everything I did in the book, Corporate Misfit, was selling my personal story. I shared the story of how I moved from chemical engineering, what made me decide to move from chemical engineering, going through a self-discovery journey. I shared everything. It's almost like I wanted to pour that book out. Then I realized later, before I published the book, that publishing was not going to make me rich, quote and unquote. That's a very strange way to look at it. You're about to publish a book and you're saying you're not going to be rich from that book, because the purpose why I was creating the book was not to get rich. End in mind. So many people have felt, oh, maybe why did he publish a book? Maybe he wanted to become a rich boy. Maybe. Why is he not teaching? There was a time I wanted to teach in the university. Or say, for example, I wanted to be a teacher in a secondary school when I was not finding a job. So I felt, oh, guy, I think I'm going to now be teaching in a school. I almost applied, but later on changed my mind. When I was publishing my book, my desire was that 1,000 copies of my book was going to be given free to graduates. I mean, graduates, fresh. People that don't know what they want to do, I'm going to give out that book free. Then I came across a very interesting wise counsel. I was in one I've been in a lot of funny things. So I was in one entrepreneurship session, and somebody was telling me that philanthropy is not free. So you see a Bill Gates giving out all of his millions and the rest to Melinda Gates Foundation, and everybody feels is fighting polio for free. No, somebody is paying for it. There's nothing free. So that individual, it struck me, that person that said, if you must give, it didn't say directly in that form, but the person said, if you must do something for free, there is a side or a main also that will pay for it, or a job that will pay for it. Then I had an epiphanic moment. I said, what if somebody pays for the entire 1,000 copies of my book, then I can give it out for free? Till today, I can tell you for free that I have given out more copies of my book for free, either paid by myself directly or paid by somebody, compared to the numbers of individuals that bought that book at the cost price that was given. The end goal. What's the end goal? So when you were reading my profile, many years ago, I wrote that profile today. I want to leave my footprint on the sand of time. And that is why today Every single thing I do is to do things for free. I put myself in the shoes of HR professionals that are coming behind that never had an impact, or that never had anybody to tell them stuff. I created a YouTube channel. I give things for free. I teach everything for free. Then later, somebody came along and said, okay, fine. What does it cost us to put a paid sponsored video for you to sponsor this video? I said, oh, are you? That's not the purpose. But if that is what you want, don't worry, I will collect money for it. Then recently, I went into Udemy. Every single thing I put on my Udemy channel about 2 years ago that I started from my YouTube channel. And it started from the pandemic. Coincidentally, about the same time the pandemic happened, I clocked a milestone age. And I said, I'm going to be about legacy going forward. And since about 3 years ago, I have been giving 30 minutes minimum of my time for free for individuals I do not know. I call it a free career clarity session. And for every time I give out that session, I've lost count of the number of people that have come for that program, for that session. And it's not only in Nigeria. End goal, I want to leave my footprint on the sand of time. So every single thing I am doing that people feel, oh, this guy is just dabbling into, no, there's an end goal. Simply because I learned it earlier and I practice it, and I've come to realize that if you really want to take a decision that would outlive you, that will look big and extraordinary, you need to have the end goal in mind. So that is why I would say that looking at principles, start with the final goal. What's the final goal? What exactly is the final goal? Big career decision, yes, it might be big. Interestingly, what is big for your definition might be different from another one. My leaving chemical engineering for HR was a big decision for me. It might not look big to anybody. It might look like, this guy, you're leaving the oil rig for the human rig. There's no money in the human rig. And I know, honestly, if I had my way, maybe I shouldn't have gone to HR. Who even begged me to come? Because there's no money in HR. I should have gone into investment banking. I had the mind for it. But I'm in HR. My end goal at that time was fulfillment, leaving my footprint on the sand of time. I needed to impact lives. I went into Udemy. The end goal was I had the courses there for free at a time. Then I stopped giving it out for free because my YouTube was for free. So I decided to create a premium content. And I can tell you for free, I have over 8,000 students on the Udemy platform. I only have 5 courses. But the interesting thing about it is that the majority of those students are not from Nigeria. A simple end goal. I just want to leave empty. I want to give everything. That was my own end goal. And how did I go about it? Number one, to everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven. You need to understand your season. There's a time when you need to plant, and there's a time when you need to reap. You need to understand where you are in the age continuum, quote and unquote. What do I mean? What stage of life am I now? There are some decisions I was able to take before I was married that I cannot take now. I dare not take that decision. When I lost my job the first time, that was before I got married. I had a lady that is now my wife, that I was about to say, Madam, will you go to the altar with me? I don't have a job. And I can remember one of the things she said at that time. She said, Oga, you're not going to tell any family member. As a matter of fact, there are a few family members that got to know many years after that I actually lost my job 3 months to my wedding. Interestingly, I got another job that I lost the first week I finished, I got married. And everybody that gets to know about that will have said, number one, 3 months to your wedding, you lost your job. You got another one before the wedding. And immediately the first week of the wedding, I was at home. Are you sure this woman is not jazzing you from wherever it is? But there was a season of my life that I could weather some of those storms. And by the time I was in another season of my life, things started to stabilize to the point at which my independent consulting project was now paying. The first day I was paid for a day, and the amount I was paid was more than my wife's salary. That was the day I knew that, yes, there are seasons. So my first question to you is that you need a plan. No matter where you are, you need a plan. And that plan might require you to consider career stages and options available. There are individuals that are meant for paid employment. There are individuals that are not meant for paid employment. You need to understand the others. I used to be in paid employment at a time. Then I went into independent consulting for a long period. Then I got to a stage in my life about a year plus ago. I said, sorry, I think this consulting thing, I need a stable income. Then I'm back in paid employment. Anybody looking at me will have said, guy, why are you back in paid employment? It's a season. It was the season I needed the cash. And it's not that I don't get money in independent consulting. Yes, I do. I get paid, but it was seasonal. It was me understanding the season I was in and planning for the next phase. What are the options available? If there was anything I have noticed in my very short career, I am the first individual that have defied the concept of you must apply to a multinational before you can be employed. I've defied that rule. Every of the time I've had cause to work for a multinational, and I think I'm on the third multinational engagement now, third or fourth, I think it should be the fourth, and I never saw a vacancy and I applied. No, it was very referral or individuals saying, oh, I need somebody for this role. Do you have somebody? Can you recommend? And 3 of them, of those 4 engagements, were fixed term contract. I have not in my life heard that multinationals have fixed term contract employment. Now I know. Why? The third time I lost my job, one of the jobs that got me back on my foot was a fixed term contract with a multinational. I never knew it existed. And one of the things I was discussing in that meeting was, so what are you doing now? I just lost my job in July of that year. And around August or September thereabout, I was in an interview referred by somebody. Relationships are critical. Then they were asking me questions. So what have you been doing? And I said, no, I just lost my job. I've been writing manuscript for my book, blah, blah, blah. Shared some of my experiences, and they said the rest is history. So question number 1, starting point. Where are you now? Very critical. You want to make a big career decision, you need to decide where are you now. It's like a GPS coordinate. If you don't understand where you are, it's difficult to get your final goal. That's where everybody wants to get to. But you see, between that starting point, and this final goal, where you are going, there are lots of in-betweens. That's where you spend most of your time. But if I want to add up my opening quotes, that people with extraordinary careers start with the end in mind, long term. In the next 2 years, in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, what do you want to be? I had that strong desire I was going to do independent consulting. And for every role I've had to take, I've been very critical around them. So when the first multinational experience came up, it was supposed to be for 9 months. They cut it short, and I spent maybe 6 months, 4 months thereabout, and they said they are cutting it short. And I said, oh, so what am I going to do? That was the batting of my independent consulting outfit. And I did that for a while, for another 2-3 years. I got to a point in my consulting career, I had staff. I had staff, and I was paying somebody to work for me. I got to a point at which I had people that could do things. It was a phase. Then later, another multinational engagement came up. Every time I was taking those multinational engagements was for a purpose. One, HR guy. I found a niche area in HR, compensation and benefit. I wanted to be an expert in that area. And I needed those multinational engagements on my profile. I got to a point at which I was doing engagements, consulting engagement for organizations. And I told myself one day, there was a time I needed to consult for an organization. I'm choosing not to mention any organization because they're not paying for any fees in this place. There was a particular strong financial organization, fintech organization I needed to train for. I trained for them at technically a loss, but I told myself, when I put their name on my profile, nobody is going to ask me how much did they pay you. The reality is I did a project for them. So my end goal is this. Anytime my profile is mentioned, I want people to look at my profile and say, come, when did this guy get all this experience? Within a very short period of time. And I wanted the word expert to be behind my name. So I started, number one, discovery. Very critical. Who are you? That's where you're going to start from. Knowing where you are now and knowing where your final destination is, no matter how it is in your head. I know many of us, if I was to ask us in this room what we wanted to be in the future, this is the future now, when they ask us, I have a boy that I have my son is going to be 10 in a couple of weeks. And some weeks or sometime last year or thereabout, or maybe about 2 years ago, I was asking the question, what are you going to be in the future? And he has told me two things at different times. There was a time I wanted to be a doctor. I can't even remember the last one he told me again. My daughter also is going to be 8 in a couple of days. And she is saying she wanted to be a teacher at the time, maybe music or something. But I had to tell them something. I said, do you know that what you say now is going to change when you become 16? My son has been very conscious of driving. Well, he has always been asking, Daddy, when am I going to drive? Daddy, when am I going to drive? I had to tell him, boy, when you are 18, I'll give you an opportunity to drive. That's him setting the end goal for himself. But the reality is that who are you? Self-discovery. You may not be able to discover yourself on your own. You may need help. There are things you may need to do on your own. Number one, I ask you, when was the last time you did a personality test? If there was anything I take very seriously, personality tests are very critical. Personality tests give you an understanding about yourself, because I've realized that there is a values inventory test that helps you to take decisions based on your values. Have you ever thought why you find it difficult to get involved in corruption scandals as an individual? Maybe it's because you have integrity as your value. And the guy that can conveniently do some of those things may simply because he just believed that diplomacy was his own value. There's no right or wrong anyway, but he believes there's nothing wrong. There's no black and white. There are gray lines. So the guy can choose to do some things. But there are some individuals that integrity is very critical to them. Family is very critical to them. So when they are taking decisions, they are having their family in mind. I've had course to leave a job on the island to come back to the mainland because of family. Remember what I was talking about, seasons. There was a time that I only had my wife and myself to feed. Then when the kids started to come in, I needed to take decisions based with them in mind. And there are some individuals that will not consider those things. They are very ambitious. It determines the way they take decisions. So there's what values inventory. There's also another interesting personality test that could be very useful. I use it in some of my coaching clients. Is called career anchor. The career anchors test can tell you whether you are meant to be a specialist, a generalist, an entrepreneur, somebody that has independence, or somebody that is giving to service to humanity or dedication to a cause. Different things. Individuals have used that test many times to the point at which I would not necessarily, if you come to me and say you need me to help you take a decision, all I need to do is to do some of those tests for you. And by the time we are done and you look through it, you will get more clarity. That takes you to the next thing. And that's the fact that clarity. After understanding who you are, you need to be clear that you are sure. Am I sure? And it can come in various ways. So when I came to embrace the fact that I was a born teacher, when I'm about to start a training or a session like this, I will ask them, I say I'm a born teacher. When I am done, I will ask you all, am I really a born teacher? So maybe when we are done with the questions and answer, I will come back and ask you, do you think I am? Am I sure about what I said at the beginning? You also need to be sure. There's a level of certainty that you need. The very first thing you need to be sure about is yourself. If you leave your clarity to people 100%, you might be misled. I'm always an advocate that people will only confirm what you have inside of you. Strangely, if you're having doubt about things and you talk to people, they might amplify your doubts. Very interestingly, if you're sure about something and you talk to a few people, depending on the kind of people you talk to, they might confirm your doubts and they might also confirm your assertion. So, but whatever decision you end up taking, it's for you to be accountable for. Nobody would say, it was Deji that made me marry my wife. My brother, you took that decision. You went to the altar yourself. So while you're taking those decisions, you need to be sure, you need to have clarity, because it's the clarity that will determine the kind of speed at which you go into. Then you now need to start exploring options. Doing a personality test, your discovery stage, you would understand various career opportunities you can pursue. As a matter of fact, I was jokingly telling you earlier on that if I consider myself very, I should have gone into investment banking, because there are a lot of money in investment banking. That I can tell you for free. Lots and lots of money in investment banking. Do you know why? Bankers, anything financials, anything numbers. One of the reasons why I stayed in compensation and benefits is because I read a chemical engineering, that was transferable skills, analytical, all the mass transfer and e-transfer that I learned in school, they sharpened my analytical skills so I can come and crunch numbers for HR people, and they run away from it. And I can say for free that comp and ben people are most of the most sought after individuals in HR. So I stayed in that space so that people will be looking for me. At least I stayed in the part of HR that will bring a little bit of money, because these days I think I'm beginning to like value creation. You need to look at the opportunities. Some other people say software development is the one that is critical. Then some opportunities might be local and opportunities might be international. But you also need to explore that opportunity. Let me talk about the elephant in the room. Don't jump on the jackpot bandwagon without a plan. Opportunities. So I tell people, many weeks ago, I had an opportunity to jump on the Twitter space, and I was talking about jackpot for people that are in their 40s. Interestingly, I was in my 40s at that time. Interestingly, the individual that invited me for that session did not realize that I was in transition. No idea. The person did not even know I was in transition. They just called me for that session. And I shared something very instrumental. I said, for every individual that chooses to leave the shores of Nigeria, you can choose to work with your hand or to work with your skills. People always take the easy route of working with their hands. Working with your hands will give you quick cash, but not the big cash. Working with your skills will give you more money. What do I mean? People go outside of the country, and I'm not spiting any individual, and they pick the easy jobs, warehouse, caregiver job, the ones that give the easy cash, restaurant, the one that give the easy cash, the quick cash. But there are jobs that will be high paying, that are skills based, data analytics, HR professionals, very high skilled. So the major challenge is this: While they are on the exploration route, they are not thinking about what kind of job am I going to take over there. I say this, I've not finished experimenting my assertion, but I think I have a few data points. I've had a few individuals that have had cause to leave Nigeria, and I can give references of what they are doing now compared to what they were doing in Nigeria. And most of the individuals that have had opportunity to get the big buck are the individuals that stayed in the area of skills. So while exploring opportunities both locally and outside, think skills. Yes, there are some roles at your career level that will give you value that you can exchange for later. There are some that will give you cash now, but not value to exchange later. So while you're taking up those jobs, while the opportunities are coming, think through which one is important to me now. There was a season in my life that value was more important to me. Money was the least of my problem. I even entered the workforce late. I was almost 30 by the time I got my first job. So I did not have time for all the graduate training I begged to apply a role. I just went for the kill straight. And I think it worked out well. So sometimes your career stage or wherever you are you looking at value now or money? Now, I might have transited into a time at which my value has been, to a large extent, gotten to a stage at which I'm now revealing and exchanging it for cash. But please, while you are looking for opportunities, you need to know what you're looking for, because whatever you're looking for will be very critical. Then while you have gone through the starting point, discovery, clarity, exploration, you need to also focus. It's not cast in stone. Yes, this whole continuum looks like it's going towards the rocket and going to escape velocity. But the reality is that if it was possible, I'll make it into a cycle. Every stage of your life that you are in, you would definitely have to go through all of these things all over again, because the end goal is where you are going. And in order to get there, you must always refocus. It's the same way at which you're driving. If it was possible, you don't need to touch the steering wheel of a car. A car would only go in a straight line if the road was straight. The reason why you need to continuously take the steering wheel is that the road is not straight. So if you leave that steering wheel, you will find yourself in the ditch. You need to continually steer those decisions. Find known friends around you, like-minded individuals. Community like this is critical, because yes, the bulk of the responsibility is on you, but you need people around you. You need the right counsel. It's not just any type of counsel, the right counsel. Then there is a career stages snapshot, depending on where you might be. Some of us are at the rookie level, novice. And this level can be somebody just entering into a new industry. So take, for example, I say I'm in transition. So I'm in a transition period. I'm going into a new country. I would most likely be a rookie there, irrespective of whatever experience I might have here in Nigeria. Except if there's a transition and my current employment transcends through the barriers and I can continue my employment. But if I need to start afresh, then it's a rookie experience. I currently have somebody that is at that stage and is not coming to terms with it. His wife is currently not in the country. He's about to ship his children out. My friend does not want to go and start afresh. So he says he's going to stay back in Nigeria. That he's going to go and ship them there and continue to go back and forth. There's always a novice period. Then you get to a point where you become the individual contributor. You become the doer. Then you get into the manager phase. Each of these are different years of experience, whether cumulative years of experience or doing that particular role. The managers are the performers. Then you become the veterans, the masters. Then you become the strategist or the expert, as the case may be. Depending on your career stage, each of them have different decisions to make. Time may not permit me to go into all of that. Then this is something I usually recommend for people. At every stage, you need to check SWOT analysis. We use this to business so much that we forget to use it on ourselves. And what's it about? Strengths. So, areas of control, what are you good at? Always play to your strengths. While I was in chemical engineering, I was exposed to a lot of calculations. While I decided to go into HR, yes, there were the softer side of HR, but at the time in my career, I needed to decide which area of HR do I want to concentrate on. I said, okay, don't worry, let me pick the area that has to do with calculation, the analytical side of my chemical engineering. So I played to my strengths. So when I decided to start to do videos, while going through the entire videos on YouTube, I said, no, I've not seen a teaching channel on HR on the web. Most of them are always talking about job search, job search, job search. Then I remember I have a friend and a coach at that time that was coaching me on YouTube about during the pandemic. I paid for a coaching session and the guy said, and my advice for you is not to concentrate on job search because there are a lot of websites, lots of YouTube videos on job search. If you choose to teach technical HR, I think you would have a lot of following. And boom, I have over 10,000, about 11,000 as at the last count, followers on YouTube. I have not released a video on YouTube actively in the last 6 months, but I still get views each day, close to 1,000 views on YouTube. And every of the comments I see are comments of individuals saying, we like what you teach. That's me concentrating on my strength. I said, I'm a born teacher. I concentrate on it. Now I realize I did not need to go to a secondary school to teach. I can actually teach professionally and get paid for it. That's me playing to my strength, getting a lot of wise counsel so that I will not lose my way. Then you need to realize your weakness. Never focus on your weakness. Please don't. You can get people to help you in the areas of your weakness. There was a time in my life that I was very bad at designs. And I think maybe the only thing I can do in design now is I can tweak someone else's design. So I have an interest. I have a very friend confidant around me. I just tell him what I want to do. He gives me a template and I can begin to play around it. But I know it's an area of weakness to me. I don't need to concentrate on it. I only need to find somebody to help me stand in there. Then what are the opportunities available? Economy. The current Nigerian economy, the globalization, technology. My dear, before I started to teach on Udemy, when I decided to be doing free career clarity session, I have had course to do clarity session while in Nigeria, in this same very room where I am currently, to talk to people in the US, talk to people in the UK, talk to people in Dubai, talk to people all around the world for free, just by saying 30-minute career clarity. That was when I discovered that my Udemy channel had a lot of opportunities. So what did I do? I went on Udemy, looked for the loopholes in terms of the gap, knowledge gap. I created channels in that area. I only have 5 courses, and 4 of those courses have been listed on Udemy Business. Now, let me help you understand. There are different levels of Udemy. Udemy there is a personal Udemy. Then there are some organizations that will pay Udemy to create a learning management system. So Udemy becomes their learning management system. They subscribe as an organization, and their staff can have access to all the bouquet of courses on Udemy. So Udemy decided to say, your course is available in the personal space, is doing so well, we would decide to give it to our business corporate customers, and there are different revenue models. So currently, Udemy pay me when individuals subscribe and pay me when organizations subscribe. There are different business model and payment model. So I can conveniently sit down now and not do anything. And every month, as a matter of fact, I have different pay days, different days Udemy pay, different days YouTube pay, different days I get my normal salary. All through the month, there's always a payment coming in. Why? opportunities, economy, globalization, technology. Is there a skill set that is in high demand? Learn it if you have the aptitude for it. Don't do it. Please don't do it because others are doing it. You're going to, it's a recipe for disaster. If you go and do data analytics because others are doing it, you may not have the aptitude. If you go and do software coding because others are doing it, there are so many things you can do that you don't necessarily need to code. There are opportunities for everything. You need to maximize them. There are threats. So one of the things that you need to realize is that the current situation in Nigeria is very critical. Please, if you are in this room and you don't have ways of receiving foreign currency, please go and get it sorted today. Because we are currently at the place at which our Naira is very weak. When I started 2 years ago on Udemy, I never knew I was going to be needing those foreign currencies as I do now. Before, I thought maybe I'll just be exchanging it into Naira. But these days, I know it's even better to have it in other currency than have it in Naira. That's the globalization. If you are in Nigeria, do you have ways you can receive payment outside of this country? Can you ship your skill set beyond the shores of Nigeria? That is the space we are on now. There are a lot of remote opportunities that you, irrespective of wherever you are, you can operate in the global economy. The threat is the fact that you are in Nigeria, but you don't need to be confined. The threat might be your Nigerian passport, but you don't have to be constrained. I learned recently that Seychelles have decided to ban Nigerian passport now. They've joined the ways of Dubai that put restrictions. The interesting thing about it is that you need a second passport. There are different ways you can get the second passport. Some would do it by money. The very first time I wanted to get a second passport, they told me to go and get $100,000. Yeah, you heard me right, $100,000. Please help me to do that conversion. That's about 70 or 70 million or thereabout Naira. There's no way I can get it. That is what most of your politicians use. They don't have only Nigerian passports. But the reality is that there are other ways you can get another passport. There are other ways you can earn. There are freelancing sites you can go to and get money. Your career does not have to be limited to Nigeria alone. So it may be a threat that you're in Nigeria, but it can also be an opportunity as well, because it's the way you position it. So I want to advise you, this will help you to make decisions, and you can do it at any stage of your life. It doesn't have to be a one-off process and stop. Continuous iteration. Okay, I think I'm almost done. I think I'm done. So let me take your questions.